Mia Thompson loved Veredale. The city was a symphony of ambition. Its skyscrapers pierced the clouds. Its streets thrummed with untold stories. Mia wanted to tell them, all of them. She had landed her dream job, the Veredale Chronicle. It was a beacon of news in a city that never slept. Every day was a new challenge. Every lead was a new mystery. She felt alive here, more alive than ever before. The scent of ink and the clatter of keyboards were her comfort. This was where she belonged. This was where she would make her mark. She wasn't just any reporter. Mia had a fire in her belly, a relentless drive for the truth. Some called her tenacious. Others, perhaps less kindly, called her stubborn. She didn't care. The truth mattered most. It was her compass, her guiding star in the often murky world of news. Veredale was a city of bright lights. It also cast long, dark shadows. Mia knew this. She was determined to shine a light into those shadows, no matter how deep they went, or what lurked within them. She believed in the power of journalism, the power to inform, the power to change. Her small apartment overlooked a bustling avenue. Sirens often wailed in the distance. Each sound was a potential story, a life altered, a system tested. Mia would listen. She would wonder. Her mind was always racing, connecting dots others missed. She lived for the thrill of the chase, the painstaking process of uncovering what was hidden. Veredale offered endless opportunities for a journalist like her, a journalist hungry for impact. She had always dreamed of this, working at a respected paper, making a difference, one story at a time. The Chronicle's newsroom was a chaotic orchestra. Phones rang incessantly, editors barked orders, reporters hunched over their desks, fingers flying across keyboards. Mia thrived in this environment. The energy fueled her. The shared purpose united them. They were watchdogs, guardians of public trust, or so she believed, so she hoped. She poured her coffee, the dark liquid mirroring the city's hidden depths. Today felt different. A sense of anticipation hung in the air. A story was brewing, a big one. She could feel it in her bones. The tip came anonymously. An encrypted email, no sender, just a cryptic message. Look into Senator Hayes, the people's money. Mia's pulse quickened. Senator Marcus Hayes, a titan in Veredale politics. Charismatic, powerful, seemingly untouchable. He was a man who built his career on promises of integrity. He spoke of serving the public. He was a popular figure. Many admired him. Few dared to question him. The email felt like a dare, a dangerous invitation into a labyrinth of secrets and lies. Mia began to dig, carefully, quietly. She knew the risks. Accusing a man like Hayes was not a small thing. It required irrefutable proof. She spent weeks buried in public records, financial statements, campaign donations, following faint trails, hitting dead ends. Frustration gnawed at her. Yet the anonymous whisper echoed in her mind. The people's money. It pushed her forward. She cross-referenced databases. She spoke to hushed sources, people who were afraid, people who hinted at something rotten beneath the polished surface of Senator Hayes's public image. The breakthrough came late one night. A second encrypted file landed in her inbox. This one was different. It contained scanned documents, ledgers, bank transfers, offshore account numbers. Her blood ran cold as she pieced it together. A sophisticated scheme. Millions in public funds, diverted, embezzled, used for personal gain, lavish properties, luxury cars. It was all there, meticulously hidden, until now. The scale of the corruption was staggering. Senator Hayes, the people's champion, was a thief, a grand manipulator. Mia stared at the screen. Her heart pounded. The evidence was damning, undeniable. This was the story. The kind of story that could end a career, or make one. But it was more than that. It was a betrayal of public trust, a deep wound in the heart of Veredale. She felt a surge of anger and a tremor of fear. This wasn't just about a corrupt politician. It was about a system that allowed such corruption to fester. She copied the files onto a secure drive. The digital documents felt heavy. They carried an immense weight, the weight of truth.
Mia Thompson, we know what you're looking into.
No greeting, no introduction, just a chilling statement. The voice was smooth, educated. It sent shivers down her spine.
Senator Hayes is a respected man, a pillar of this community. Some stories are best left untold for everyone's sake.
The implication was clear. This was not advice, it was a threat. Mia's hand tightened around the phone. Her mind raced. How did they know? Who were they? The anonymity of the voice was terrifying. It suggested reach, power.
Think carefully about your next move, Miss Thompson. Veredale can be a dangerous place for those who make powerful enemies. Consider your career, your safety.
The line went dead. Silence filled her small apartment. A heavy, suffocating silence. The city lights outside suddenly seemed less welcoming, more menacing. The shadows felt deeper. She replayed the conversation in her head, every word, every inflection. The calm delivery made it even more sinister. This wasn't a common thug. This was someone calculated, someone connected. They knew her name. They knew about the investigation. They were trying to intimidate her, to bury the story before it even saw the light of day. The fear was real. It coiled in her stomach like a viper. She thought of her family, her future. Was this story worth the risk? Worth the potential consequences? The confidential documents on her desk seemed to mock her. Their truth was a burning ember, but publishing it meant walking into a fire. The voice on the phone was a clear signal. Senator Hayes and his allies would not go down without a fight. They would use any means necessary to protect their secrets, their power, their ill-gotten gains. Mia felt a profound sense of isolation. She was standing at a precipice. One step could lead to justice, another could lead to ruin. The choice was hers, and it was terrifying. Mia needed to talk to someone she trusted. Jonathan John Davies, her former journalism professor, now a grizzled, semi-retired editor. John had seen it all. He understood the pressures, the dangers, the ethical tightropes of their profession. She found him at his usual haunt, a quiet old bookstore cafe, surrounded by the comforting smell of old paper and brewing coffee. He listened patiently, his brow furrowed as Mia recounted the discovery, the evidence, the chilling phone call. He didn't interrupt. When she finished, John sipped his coffee. He looked out the window for a long moment. The city outside was a blur of motion.
This is a big one, Mia. They're scared. That's why they threatened you. Scared people do desperate things. The question isn't whether it's dangerous. We know it is. The question is, what is your responsibility? To yourself? To the public?
His words were not a command. They were a gentle probe, forcing her to look deeper. John spoke of integrity, the core of journalism. He reminded her of the power they wielded and the immense responsibility that came with it.
If journalists back down from threats, then who will hold power accountable? Who will speak for those who have no voice?
He didn't tell her what to do. He never did. Instead, he helped her find her own answer. He affirmed her instincts, validated her courage. He spoke of past reporters who faced similar threats. Some buckled, others stood firm. Their stories became legends. Mia felt a sense of clarity returning. John's wisdom was a balm to her frayed nerves. He wasn't minimizing the danger. He was framing it, contextualizing it within the larger mission of their craft.
The truth has a price, Mia. Sometimes a very high price. You need to decide if you're willing to pay it. But know this. You're not alone in this fight if you choose to see it through.
His support was a lifeline, a reminder that courage could be found even in the face of fear. She left the cafe with renewed, albeit trepidatious, resolve. The decision was made. Mia would publish. She spent the next 48 hours in a blur of activity, working with her editor, fact-checking every detail, and corroborating every claim. The legal team at the Veredale Chronicle reviewed the article meticulously.
The atmosphere in the newsroom was electric, tense. Everyone knew the stakes. This story would send shockwaves through Veredale.
The air crackled with anticipation and a touch of fear, but there was also a sense of duty. The night the story went live online, Mia couldn't sleep. She watched the view counter climb. Comments flooded in, a mixture of outrage, disbelief, and support. The city was waking up to the news.
The digital headline screamed, "Senator Hayes, Implicated in massive embezzlement scheme, Veredale Chronicle investigation uncovers years of corruption. By morning, it was the only thing anyone in Veredale was talking about. Radio shows buzzed, television news anchors dissected the details. The Chronicle's print edition sold out before noon. The story had detonated. The fallout was immediate and intense.
Senator Hayes' office issued a furious denial. They called the story a baseless smear campaign. They threatened legal action. Political allies rushed to his defense. Others distanced themselves. Calls for an official investigation grew louder. Protesters began to gather outside City Hall and outside the senator's opulent downtown office. The city was a tinderbox. Mia's article was the spark.
She watched the news reports, her heart a mixture of pride and anxiety. She had done it. The truth was out, but the victory was fragile. The forces arrayed against her were powerful. The senator's machine was already in motion, trying to discredit her, trying to muddy the waters. Smear campaigns began online. Anonymous trolls attacked her credibility and her personal life. She knew this was just the beginning. The fight had just started. Publishing the story was one battle. Defending it and herself would be the war.
The city was polarized. Some hailed her as a hero, others vilified her as a reckless troublemaker. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with peril. Section 6. Storm of Threats, Shield of Support. The threats escalated, no longer just anonymous calls. Now there were thinly veiled warnings from concerned citizens. Cars followed her home from work. Her email was hacked. Her social media accounts were flooded with vile messages and disturbing, specific threats. Sleep became a luxury. Every shadow seemed to hold a menace. Every unexpected noise made her jump. The pressure was immense, designed to break her, to make her retract, to make her regret ever unearthing the truth about Senator Hayes. It was a relentless psychological assault. Yet, amidst the storm of intimidation, something remarkable happened. The community began to rally. Ordinary citizens, people she had never met. They started to fight back. Online, they defended her. They shared the article. They demanded accountability from Senator Hayes. Small business owners put up signs supporting the Veredale Chronicle. Local activists organized rallies in her name, praising her courage, thanking her for exposing the corruption that had siphoned away their city's resources. These acts of solidarity were a powerful counter-narrative to the fear campaign. Her colleagues at the Chronicle stood by her, unwavering. Her editor assigned a security detail. They published follow-up stories. They refused to be silenced. Other media outlets, initially cautious, began their own investigations, corroborating Mia's findings. The story grew legs. It was no longer just Mia's story. It belonged to Veredale. It belonged to everyone who believed in justice. This groundswell of support was a shield. It blunted the impact of the threats. It reminded Mia that she was not fighting alone, that her work mattered. The support was not just vocal, it was tangible. People left flowers at the Chronicle's office. They sent letters of encouragement. Some even offered information, new leads, new evidence related to Hayes' network. The fear was still there, a constant companion. But now it was mixed with a growing sense of hope and a fierce determination. The powerful had tried to isolate her. Instead, they had inadvertently united a city. Mia realized the profound impact of her work. It wasn't just about exposing one corrupt man. It was about empowering a community to demand better. Section 7. Confronting the corrupt. The official investigation gained momentum. Pressure mounted on Senator Hayes. He became increasingly isolated. His denial sounded hollower with each passing day. Then came the invitation, or rather, the summons. Senator Hayes wanted to meet Mia, alone. Her editor advised against it. Her security detail was adamant, too risky. But Mia knew she had to go. This was the confrontation she had, in some ways, been preparing for. She needed to look him in the eye. The man who had tried to silence her. The man who had betrayed his city. The meeting took place in his lavish, now nearly empty office. The opulence felt obscene against the backdrop of his crimes. Senator Hayes looked older, more tired than his public persona suggested. The arrogance was still there, but it was brittle. He tried to charm her, then he tried to intimidate her again. He spoke of misunderstandings, of political enemies. He offered her an exclusive to tell his side of the story, a carefully constructed narrative of victimhood. Mia listened, unmoved. She had the facts. She had the truth.
Senator, the evidence is overwhelming. You stole from the people you swore to serve. You abused their trust. No amount of spin can change that.
She saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Desperation? Or perhaps, for a fleeting moment, shame. He scoffed, tried to dismiss her, but the power dynamic had shifted. He was no longer the untouchable titan. He was a man cornered by the truth she had brought to light.
This isn't about me, Senator Hayes. This is about the city of Veredale. It's about the schools that didn't get built, the services that weren't funded, because of your greed.
She stood up.
I will continue to report on this until justice is served.
As she walked out, leaving him in his gilded cage, she felt a profound sense of closure, and an even stronger commitment to her path. The fight was far from over, but she had faced the dragon in his lair, and she had not flinched. Her resolve was ironclad. Section 8. Echoes of Truth, a journalist's reflection. In the weeks and months that followed, Veredale changed. Senator Hayes eventually resigned. He faced multiple indictments. The legal process would be long, but the tide had turned. The city began a slow, painful process of healing and rebuilding trust. Mia's story was the catalyst. It had forced a reckoning. It showed that no one, no matter how powerful, was above the law. If someone brave enough dared to hold them accountable. The Chronicle's circulation soared. Its reputation as a fearless investigative paper was cemented. Mia Thompson became a household name in Veredale, not for fame, but for courage, for integrity. She received awards. She was invited to speak at journalism schools. But for Mia, the true reward was the impact, the tangible change she had witnessed. She continued her work at the Chronicle, more determined than ever. She knew that the fight against corruption was ongoing, that new threats to truth would always emerge. Her experience with Senator Hayes had been a crucible. It had forged her into a stronger, more resilient journalist. She often thought about her journey, the initial thrill of discovery, the icy grip of fear, the moral dilemma, the support of her mentor, John, the terrifying threats, and the unexpected wave of community solidarity. Each step had been a choice, a test of her character, her principles. She learned that ethical journalism wasn't just about reporting facts. It was about understanding the human cost of silence, the moral imperative to speak out, even when your voice shook, even when the powerful tried to crush you. The echoes of her decision to publish reverberated still. Young journalists in Veredale now looked to her as an example. She understood the weight of that, the responsibility to continue upholding the highest standards, to mentor others, to ensure that the flame of investigative journalism burned bright. The path of truth was rarely easy. It was often fraught with peril, but it was the only path worth taking. Mia knew this now more deeply than ever. Her work was more than a job. It was a calling, a sacred trust. Section 9. The Unseen Ripple. Veredale's Awakening. The fall of Senator Hayes was not an isolated event. It was a tremor that sent ripples throughout Veredale's political landscape. Other officials, once complacent, now felt a new scrutiny. The public, once perhaps apathetic, was now more engaged, more questioning. Town hall meetings saw increased attendance. Citizen watchdog groups formed. People understood that their vigilance mattered. Mia's courageous reporting had done more than expose one corrupt individual. It had reawakened a civic consciousness. It had subtly altered the balance of power between the governed and those who govern. The Veredale Chronicle itself underwent a transformation. Inspired by Mia's success and the public's hunger for accountability, the paper invested more resources into its investigative unit. They hired more reporters dedicated to digging deep, to uncovering uncomfortable truths. Other news outlets in the city also felt the pressure and the inspiration. A new era of more robust, more challenging journalism began to dawn in Veredale. The standard had been raised. The expectation of the press to act as a true fourth estate was re-established with vigor. This was an unseen yet profound legacy of Mia's stand. Young people in Veredale, particularly aspiring journalists, saw Mia's story not just as a dramatic news event, but as a career path with profound meaning. Applications to journalism programs saw a local uptick. Students wrote essays about her courage. They debated the ethics of her choices. She had inadvertently become a role model, demonstrating that journalism, at its best, could be a force for tangible good. It showed them that one person, armed with truth and determination, could indeed challenge entrenched power structures and make a lasting difference in their community. Mia, while focused on her next story, occasionally paused to observe these broader effects. She saw the increased civic engagement. She heard about the renewed vigor in local newsrooms. She felt the subtle shift in how politicians addressed the public and the press. It wasn't just about Senator Hayes anymore. It was about a city that was slowly, painstakingly, learning to demand more, to expect better. The unseen ripple of her actions continued to spread, fostering a healthier, more accountable Veredale. And that, perhaps, was the most significant consequence of all. The fight for truth was continuous, but its victories could reshape a community's future.